ever get old when somebody talks about Donavan Mitchell scoring 71 points?
It's funny. For years, I told my friends I used to be only known as the guy who almost won Rookie of the Year. So now I'm the guy who scored 71 points. So it's pretty dope. I can't lie. It's pretty special.
What a fun season last year. I mean, nobody knew what to expect when you came here because for all intents and purposes, you're in Utah. We don't get to see the late games, and unless you're one of those big fantasy basketball players, we didn't know what to expect. But your first year in Cleveland, I mean, when you figure out what went on and we make it back to the playoffs in a fan base that's just rabid, couldn't wait for you, how do you take it all in?
I think for myself, it happened so fast. I was telling to Rafa earlier, like this summer for me, it was just good to just know where I'm going to be. Like that was for one. And then also knowing to be like I'm in here now and I know what this is like.
Right.
I know like, okay, cool, this is gonna be jumping come October 30th, whenever it is. Like whatever the first game of the season. Like I know. Like, and I'm excited to put on this jersey and excited to be, like, I'm itching. You know what I'm saying? And I was itching, obviously, last year, but there was a lot of unknown. There's a lot, how are me and Darius going to work? What's it like playing with two bigs? What's it like playing, like, what's JB like? Where am I living? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, everything's right.
Right.
So, now it's like, all right, you know all that. And obviously the season ended in a disappointment. You know what I mean? But now it's like, okay. We know what we got. We know what we can be. We know what's going on, and it kind of creates that fuel, that fire. You're like, you ready to go.
What was the off season like for you? And I date myself, but I go back to when Bird, Magic, Michael would always say, I'm going to work on this off season. I want to lead the league in assists, or I want to get my free throw percentage to 90%. And they would always pick something to work on because they were already good, but they wanted to be great. Yeah. What did Donavan Mitchell work on this off season?
I won't say the first thing. I want to keep that.
Okay.
But efficiency. I said that last year, but I mean it in a different way this year. More so like when you're tired, fatigue, fighting through that, being able to be my best in late situations, be my best later in the season, be my best come playoff time. And I've done it before. You know what I mean? Obviously last year really left a sour taste in everybody's tongue, but I think for me, that's a big thing. Continue to play when you're tired. Continue to be vocal when you're tired, and continue to be that leader when you're tired. Because I went from being one of the younger guys on the team to then coming to be in that leadership role, and I was ready. But I can be better.
All right.
How can I be better in those ways?
All right. Will you tell me that first thing later in the year?
Yeah.
Okay.
In June, I'll let you know.
Okay. All right. I'm curious what that. Now you got me curious, right? The wheels are spinning.
Donovan, the additions this team made in the offseason, how good can this team be in your eyes?
I don't see a reason why we can't win a championship. I think obviously it'll be a lot tougher, with the moves that have been made, but I don't see why we can't.
Bit of a bullseye on our back now?
Yeah, I think so. And honestly, I think we have. I think the world is kind of in a point where it's like looking at two teams, and I understand that. A team that's been to the finals, been to the conference finals 3 or 4 times, in the Celtics, a team that's won a championship in the Bucks. But why can't it be us? I think for us, it's. I think people will always say, it's hard to go from winning one game in the playoffs to getting 16 wins, but I think we have the talent, we have the capability. We've added 2 great pieces of shooting. We've added a high IQ backup point guard in Ty Jerome, and then we added a champion in Tristan Thompson. We have all the pieces there. It's just a matter of us going out there and continuously finding a way to get better.
How good can this backcourt be now after being together a year,
Healthy.
right? Yeah. Darius and Donovan, a full year under your belt, some injuries, some bumps along the way, but now here's the second season. How good can you guys be?
Yeah, I think we can be, one of the best, if not the best. I think for us it's, I've said this down the line, but I keep saying it. I can sit here and tell you guys, I want you to be in the corner here. I like it here, I like this. But until you go through it when you're physically tired on the back-to-back or your 3 and 4 nights, until you go through it when you're not there and I wrap around as a turnover because nobody's there, or until you go through those things and watch it on film, go over it consistently, until you have those successes, until you have those failures late game where you remember the beginning of the year, we were figuring things out late game, until you have those things in the playoffs where, we're not making shot spacings different, creating's different. Until you go through those things, I can sit here and have this conversation with you all day and it'd be easy. But I think after a year of going through that, you have a better understanding. So now my lingo, my verbiage, what I'm saying to you makes even more sense. You know what it means. There's a look in your eye where it's like, okay, I need to get my ass in the corner because like this is what Darius needs. How does he get Evan and Jay involved? I need to be better at that. You know what I mean? What is he like on defense when he really needs to lock in? Like, sometimes when your parents say something to you,
right.
like there's a certain thing,
right.
like oh, okay, my mom's serious. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, like what is that for each of us? That you see that competition brings that out of you, and I think that's something that will we can use this year for sure.
Well, it's one thing being in the corner; it's another thing being able to use both eyes, and you can't see because he had his eye knocked out against Toronto. I mean, that was a terrible start, and it made it, in my opinion, a little bit harder for you guys to get used to playing alongside of each other. I also want to ask you, Donovan Mitchell, the difference between you came to the East, now not that you hadn't played anybody in the East, but on a regular basis, East versus West, is it as big as we're led to believe it is?
The biggest difference, and I think I'll throw you off with this one, the biggest difference to me was the travel. It's a lot shorter. It's a lot shorter flights. I think that's. I mean, obviously the East has gotten much tougher now with the additions of game and then stuff like that. And but I think the travel is a big difference. We're in Utah, LA's Phoenix is probably the closest flight. Like we go to play Dallas twice a year. We're in Dallas. That's a 2-hour, 30-minute flight. Memphis is 2 hours. San Antonio's 2 hours. Houston's 2 hours. New Orleans is 3 hours. You go up to Portland, that's 2 hours. We play Milwaukee, that's a 45-minute flight. Playing Chicago, that's a 45-minute flight.
Nice.
Playing New York, it's an hour flight. Play Brooklyn, it's an hour flight. The longest flight on the East is, I think, is Miami.
Miami,
that's 3 hours. So like that does a lot. You know what I mean? That does a lot for your body. It does a lot for your mental too after a game. So I think that's one of the biggest things that I noticed was just like the travel is different.
Would Dame reach out to you when he moved? See what it was like?
No, he didn't reach out to me at all, and I kind of felt for him because I'm like, man, I can only imagine.
For him.
Imagine what he's going through. And obviously, my situation wasn't. It was public, but it wasn't as public as his was, and I think that's something that I think But he's a guy I know. Dame. He's a guy that. There's a guy in the league that's built for that. You know what I mean, and understand like he's that guy. I think he's understanding, and obviously we all saw the story that came out about what all happened with that, and he's always loyal. He's done so much for that franchise and for that organization, but he didn't reach out, and I think he's fine.
Last thing, we'll let you go. And I talked to Kobe about this earlier. Your contract situation. It was brought up on the internet. Everybody's going to be talking about it. Are you happy here? Do you like it here? You hoping to stay here?
I am. I'm happy, man. And I think it's funny. Everybody's trying to tell me how unhappy I am. I enjoy I enjoy being around these guys. I enjoy being in this building, man. And like I said, I still have an opportunity to sign this extension next summer. Right. I think people. You leave that part out of everything and understanding that. But ultimately, we've made so many great additions. We failed last year, to be honest. We sucked in the playoffs. For me, my focus and our focus is on that. And obviously, the media's job is to talk about that stuff. But for me, that's my goal is to continue to bring a championship here, and that's my goal. And address that when the season's over and the time comes, and go from there.
Well, hey. And I've done this a lot. A lot of times, a guy that first comes here, he'll sit down and do every media thing. Then the next year, you won't see him.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you coming back again, like you did last year, and you spent all the time with us. And we enjoyed watching you on the court, and we're going to enjoy watching you, hopefully, for many.